The new guard, Ethan, felt the chill of the late autumn air from his post on the sprawling estate's roof. A colleague, Marcus, nudged him, explaining the chemical cocktail in their systems that served as a leash, tying them irrevocably to the family. Their charge, the youngest son Liam, was only 12, but the stories about him were already dark. Doubts about this assignment solidified into a cold dread. Below them, the sound of a book snapping shut echoed in the courtyard. A slender boy emerged from the shadows of a Georgian colonnade. Liam walked with a rigid posture, his hands clasped behind his back. He stopped abruptly and his head snapped up, his gaze piercing the darkness and landing directly on their position. A moment later, Ethan and Marcus were on the ground before him, kneeling on the manicured lawn. The boy inquired coldly if they were the new security detail his stepmother had assigned. His eyes, sharp and unsettlingly mature, held a deep-seated resentment. They confirmed they were. He issued a quiet not to get in his way, or he would have them removed. The threat hung in the air long after he had disappeared back into the great house. Ethan understood then. The danger wasn't just in protecting the boy. It was the boy himself. He was the one who had started killing at 12. And he was 12 right now. Ethan followed him through a silent house late one night, a ghost in his wake. Liam slipped into the residential wing reserved for senior staff, entering the suite of Mr. Peterson, his stepmother's chief of staff. Not long after, flames began to lick at the windows. As Liam slipped out through a shattered pane, Peterson stumbled into the hallway, clothes smoldering, shouting about an assassin. Before the man could form another word, Ethan stepped from the shadows and ended his cries permanently. Liam approached, his expression unreadable in the flickering firelight as he pulled down his mask. He observed calmly that Ethan had just killed Mr. Peterson. A cynical thought crossed Ethan's mind that the future tyrant was already blaming him for cleaning up his own mess. He offered no thanks, only a test. Ethan chose his side in that moment, kneeling and affirming that as Liam's man, his duty was to ensure his prince's safety. Aligning with the stepmother, Eleanor, was a slow death. Aligning with Liam was a gamble, but at least it was a chance. A faint, cold light glinted off a knife hidden in Liam's hand. After a long, tense silence, the knife was sheathed. Liam told him to handle the mess. The official story was an accidental fire. Eleanor was furious but could find no proof of foul play. She had Ethan brought in for questioning, a brutal session from which he emerged bruised but silent. A few days later, Liam was confined to the family's private chapel as punishment for some other perceived slight. Ethan kept watch from a large oak tree outside. The boy's voice suddenly cut through the quiet, asking for his name. Ethan was startled that Liam knew he was there. He answered, his voice low. Liam's dark eyes found him through the leaves, and he told Ethan to remember that he belonged to him now. In the following weeks, the other guards assigned by Eleanor were quietly reassigned or disappeared entirely. Ethan knew he had survived the first trial. 6 years passed. At Liam's 18th birthday gala, a lavish affair on the estate grounds, Ethan watched as the boy became a man, his movements confident and his smile a carefully constructed weapon. Then he saw her, Claire, the daughter of a minor business partner, her expression gentle and out of place among the predators. The original timeline had her as the catalyst for Liam's obsessive downfall. He had to prevent it. Liam, feigning intoxication, slipped away from the party. Ethan followed him to a secluded stone terrace overlooking the dark woods. Liam sank onto a bench, his bravado gone, replaced by a quiet melancholy. Ethan's heart softened unexpectedly. He approached, asking if he was all right. Liam's gaze was distant, his voice soft as he asked Ethan to stay with him for a drink. He passed Ethan a flask of bitter, homemade whiskey, explaining it was a recipe his mother had tried to perfect before she died. He confessed that he felt as unfinished and harsh as the liquor. Ethan listened, the familiar ache of sympathy tightening his chest. After years of watching Liam fight, bleed, and claw his way to power, he knew the cost. Liam's mood shifted, a flicker of petulance in his eyes. He pointed out that Ethan should be comforting him and reminded him of the chocolates he'd seen Ethan pocket from the dessert table. He demanded one. Relieved to have an excuse, Ethan produced a foil-wrapped truffle. Liam tilted his head, commanding Ethan to feed it to him. Resigned, Ethan unwrapped the candy and placed it in Liam's mouth. Just then, Claire's soft voice called out from the edge of the terrace, asking if anyone was there. In a moment of panic, Ethan stuffed several more chocolates into Liam's mouth, pressing his hand against his lips to keep them in. When Claire stepped into the dim light, she saw the two of them sitting close, Ethan's hand covering Liam's mouth. She stammered an apology about being lost. Ethan quickly withdrew his hand and retreated to the shadows, but not before he felt the deliberate, wet slide of Liam's tongue against his palm. A few weeks later, Liam was scheduled for a business trip upstate, taking his entire detail except for Ethan. An inexplicable sense of dread gnawed at Ethan. He followed a day later. He found what he feared. The convoy ambushed on a winding mountain road, cars overturned and smoking. After a frantic search, he found Liam in a ditch, bleeding and barely conscious. The moment Ethan touched him, Liam's eyes snapped open and a blade was at his throat. Recognizing him, Liam slumped, whispering Ethan's name and admitting he thought he'd never see him again. Ethan felt a surge of anger, scolding him for not bringing him along. Liam's shoulder was a mess of torn fabric and blood. With no other choice, Ethan lifted him into his arms. Liam's head rested against his shoulder as he chuckled weakly, admitting it was too dangerous and he couldn't afford to lose him. He was saving him for more important tasks. A car approached and slowed to a stop. The window rolled down to reveal Claire's concerned face. She was horrified to see Liam's condition and offered to take them to her family's nearby lake house. Inside the cramped car, Ethan held Liam upright. When Claire offered a bottle of water, Liam refused curtly. But when Ethan's fingers brushed against Claire's as he took it, Liam's body tensed. At the house, Claire bustled about, gathering medical supplies. When she offered to help clean the wound, Ethan took the bowl of antiseptic from her, their hands touching again. A harsh cough came from Liam on the bed. He ordered Ethan to his side. Ethan saw the possessive fire in his eyes and understood. He needed Claire gone. He deliberately knocked over the bowl of disinfectant, apologizing profusely. He suggested Claire get more from the kitchen downstairs, and she, sensing the tension, readily agreed. Alone with him, Ethan began the grim task of cleaning the deep gash. He used the bourbon from his own flask, knowing it would burn. Liam flinched, hissing through clenched teeth, his knuckles white where he gripped the sheets. The air grew thick with the smell of whiskey and blood, charged with an intimacy that left Ethan's hands shaking. He worked quickly, his focus absolute, wrapping the wound and several others he found with layers of gauze. By the time Claire returned with more supplies, Liam was swaddled like a mummy. She looked from the heavily bandaged man to a sweating Ethan, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. After Liam recovered, Eleanor orchestrated a garden party, a thinly veiled attempt to find him a bride. She had a list of suitable young women, each with impeccable pedigrees. Hoping to guide Liam toward a semblance of normalcy and away from Claire, Ethan discreetly passed along information about Liam's interests, chess, fencing, art history, to Eleanor's chief of staff. The plan backfired spectacularly. Liam saw through the ruse immediately. He cornered Ethan in a hedge maze, his voice a low growl of betrayal. He accused Ethan of trying to pawn him off. He knew no one else could have given Eleanor such specific details. With a sudden, violent motion, he snapped the antique parasol he was holding over his knee. He promised Ethan he would never marry, and then, leaning in close, added that Ethan wouldn't either. Despite his fury, Liam's punishment was light. A dock in pay and a night spent kneeling by his bed. While Ethan washed his feet, an old-world form of penance Liam sometimes enforced, Liam watched him intently. Ethan tried to focus on the task, but the sight of Liam's pale skin under his hands was distracting. Liam's voice, low and husky, broke the silence, asking what he was looking at. Ethan's heart hammered against his ribs. Politics moved faster than any of them. In a bid to secure an alliance, Claire and another young woman were sent to live at Liam's estate as potential fiancés. Liam retreated to his study, refusing to see either of them. Ethan, seeing Claire's obvious unhappiness, cautiously suggested to Liam that he should let her go. Liam's eyes narrowed. He demanded to know why Ethan was so concerned with her. The question was a trap. He accused Ethan of visiting her in the private quarters. The denial was barely out of Ethan's mouth before Liam had him pinned against a bookshelf, their faces inches apart. He demanded to know if Ethan cared for her. Before Ethan could answer, Liam's gaze dropped to his lips. A clock chiming in the hall broke the spell. Ethan pushed him away, stating that his shift was over. He added, his voice strained, that he preferred other women. The lie worked. Liam became a ghost, communicating through others, his silence a heavy, suffocating blanket. The insomnia returned. For 3 nights, Liam sat by his window, playing chess against himself. On the 4th night, Ethan took matters into his own hands, adding a mild sedative to Liam's evening tea. He was covering the sleeping man with a blanket when Claire appeared at the study door. She had brought a late-night snack, hearing he couldn't sleep. Ethan met her outside, explaining that Liam was finally resting. Claire looked past him at the sleeping figure, then back at Ethan's exhausted face. A look of sudden, profound understanding crossed her features. She said she wouldn't disturb them. Then she announced she was leaving that night, for good, with someone else Liam had arranged safe passage for. With a small, sincere smile, she wished them a long and happy life together. The bizarre, heartfelt blessing left Ethan speechless. Her words were a catalyst. With Claire gone and the plot averted, Ethan saw his own chance for an exit. While Liam was out, he slipped into the study and retrieved a vial containing a 5-year supply of the chemical counteragent. This was his freedom. As he turned to leave, something hard struck the back of his head, and the world went black. He awoke to the feeling of ropes binding his wrists. Liam's face, etched with a cold fury, hovered over him. He accused Ethan of trying to run, just like Claire. He threw him onto the bed, his weight pinning him down. He demanded to know why Ethan wouldn't admit what he'd done for him that night he was drugged. His voice cracked, his eyes welling with a raw, desperate emotion. He insisted that he'd never forced Ethan, that Ethan could have left him to suffer that night. And he was right. Ethan looked at the anguished face of the man he had protected for years and sighed in resignation. He couldn't bear to see him like this. He admitted, his voice barely a whisper, that he couldn't leave him. Not then, not ever. The confession hung between them. Liam's expression softened. a slow dawn of hope breaking through his anger. Ethan continued, explaining the impossibility of their situation. Liam was destined to lead the family empire, a world of strategic marriages and heirs, a world where there was no room for him. Liam silenced him with a kiss. When he pulled back, he was smiling. He explained that he had seen this future long ago. He never wanted the throne. He had already spent months maneuvering his older, more stable brother into the position of successor. All he ever wanted was to reclaim what was his. And now, his ambition had shrunk to the size of one person. In the back of a black town car speeding away from the city, Ethan nursed his bruised pride. Liam, infuriatingly gentle, offered him a piece of chocolate and mused about their future. He asked if he'd prefer the rocky shores of New England or the deserts of the Southwest. He promised they could go anywhere. Ethan closed his eyes, feigning annoyance at the man who had turned his world upside down. But he could not suppress the small smile that touched his lips.